to Halloween Horror Nights at the Universal, we like to create a full experience. We are their nightmares.
Halloween Horror Nights is the biggest rock and roll horror in your face spectacle.
We want our guests to feel as if they've left the real world behind and now they're living a horror movie. So it's pretty intense.
We build 360-degree environments. Every nook and cranny is designed to scare the living daylights out of our guests.
Doing masks and makeup, we are the visual. We get to bring the horrors to life.
This is where all the bad stuff happens.
Our sound, the lighting, special effects, scenic and decor, scare things, all come together to form an amazingly horrific marriage that makes up what Halloween Horror Nights wants to be. And that's completely terrifying.
How you guys doing? There's a lot of you. All right.
So many.
Yes. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
Yes.
My name is Blake Braswell. I'm show director for the Scare Zones for Creative Development.
I'm Charles Gray, show director for creative development with the houses this year.
I am Mike Aiello.
Left
I'm
right.
David Hughes. I am the manager of the scenic design department.
Cool. I feel like we could scoot our chairs closer.
Can we?
Yeah. Are we letting them get a little closer to you guys? Okay. I don't smell too bad.
You good?
All right. Okay.
Oh, what did I sit on?
Let's get comfy for a moment.
Yeah. So let's just go over the events. You want to talk about the streets?
Yeah, so for the Scare Zones this year, we've got our 5 Scare Zones, plus we have our roaming horde. So for those, who is here, who's already been? Okay, who hasn't been? Okay, so there are a few. Okay, probably just ask that. So
The rest of you go and we'll talk.
he was talking this. So for walking in first, you've got the Anarcade area, which is in our Avenue of the Stars. So Anarcade, this idea was kind of imagine a post-apocalyptic society where all they found was parts of a functioning 80s arcade and worshipped it and built a society around it, right? That's what's in my noggin. So that's kind of what you experience out there. It's this weird, twisted 80s neon-fueled arcade with characters that light up and glow. The weapons light up and glow. My favorite thing are the chainsaws with LED lights around them so that they make the UV paint on there just pop. And the soundtrack is awesome in there. And there's plenty of fun little video game stuff. If you're a video game nerd, listen for a little while. There's some fun stuff threaded throughout there for little Easter eggs. And then over in Hollywood, another original zone, we got Vanity Ball, which is turning out to be a fun place to go hang out and jam to some tunes. So for this area, the idea is it's pleasure is pain. You've got this elite group of people that they have these crazy artistic parties where they just push art to the limit. And so now, body is the canvas, and the surgeons are the main stars of this party as they rip people up, take parts of other people, and turn people into living works of art. And we actually managed to get a very, very large runway smack in the middle of the street. So there's a battle off, a fashion battle, runway battle, to see which designer is the best, Dr. Plasmare or Dr. Metamorph. Love those names. Plasmare is Italian for change, but Metamorph is, you know what that is. Let's see. Other original zone we've got in Central Park, Vikings Undead. So, it's all, we said the 80s were coming to get you. It's just the 980s. So, thank you. I'm a history nerd. Actually, I think most of us who work here are. And so we really kind of mined some of the Norse mythology and stuff to bring forth stuff like a Draugr, which is a creature in Norse mythology where it's a zombie. That's exactly what it is. So these warriors have refused to enter the halls of Valhalla, so they're out there just spreading mayhem. And we've got our Draugr warriors. We've got our ladies, the Valkyrie warriors that are undead out there. As well as some Jotar, which are some ogres that are out there on stilts. And then a fun thing that the Vikings used to do called the Blood Eagle torture, where you cut someone's back open and hold it open while they're alive, real thin, so they stay alive, and you and slowly crack each rib and crack it open to a nice eagle. It's a fun craft. Viking, look up history of Viking stuff. It's way grosser than anything they put on film at this point. And then for the intellectual, I should say, in our roaming, they kind of tie into our arcade area. So they've got, we went bananas because I like the glowing chainsaws so much. So all the chainsaws have these lights that, if you watch them, they actually react to sound. And the cast is able to kind of adjust to how they want to do it, what colors they run or change to or whatever, so there's some variety across there. And they've got a bunch of light-up pieces on their armor as well. And then heading over to San Francisco is our first IP zone, Rob Zombie Hellbilly Deluxe. This zone makes me super happy. I hung out there a lot last night, as did a ton of people. I don't think we've ever stuffed as much scenic into that zone. It was Dylan Colath who was our scenic designer for that zone, and it is full. And it's awesome. When I was handed that zone to work on, because it's not like it's a movie or something with a story that goes through. At first I didn't know what we were going to do, and we started combing through all the videos, and Rob Zombie just has so many good creatures and characters and themes in each of his videos that we were able to bring those to life, and they fit in HHN so well. And then our final IP over in New York, we have Zombieland Double Tap. So this is mostly based on the first film, Zombieland, where it's all about learning the rules to survive Zombieland. But there are a few little Easter eggs from the second film that'll be coming out, Zombieland Double Tap, that'll come, I think it's October 17th. That one's coming out. But this zone was a ton of fun because the zombies in the film are very aggressive zombies. They're not the slow movers, so it gives our chance for the cast to really play that up. Plus, in this film, unlike other horror zombie films where it's really about the excitement sometimes is like watching the zombies attack the people, and in that film it's much different. It celebrates taking all the zombies out. So that's what we actually brought in some stunt performers, and so throughout the night we got our stunt performers taking out a group of zombies that finish off with a nasty clown zombie at the very end. Because you got to see who's going to win Zombie Kill of the Week. And that's the scare zones for HHN 29.
Nice. So exciting. I'm going to cover houses if you want to cover streets. Do streets again. Yeah, shows. So let's start at 10-3, and if you don't know where 10-3 is, that's by the Men in Black, in between that and Fear Factor, and that's House of a Thousand Corpses, and that is dirty, disgusting, smelly, oily, nasty. It's the film. And it's like, see, all the characters are there. And so we most definitely are not going soft. It is like a very intense run. And if you've been through 10-3 in the past, for some odd reason we had Vortex Tunnel or different things like that, it seemed a little shorter. This one's like really long, like a very long trek through there. And very tight corridors. And then in Shrek, we have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And yes, woo! Yeah. It was so much fun last year in the streets, man. It was awesome. And how many of you were out there in the streets with Killer Clowns? Yeah, so it was so much fun. It was this big party, and then they were getting some scares in there too. But it was sort of like that fun interactive thing. And so what we did is we still have the ice cream truck out there in front of the Brown Dirty, and then we still have picture opportunities out there, photo opportunities. But then, and that's just to let your guard down, right? You're still happy. Oh, I saw the clowns, we're happy, we're walking. And then they all attack you in these tight corridors inside. So a lot of times we do chronological order. This time we're doing things by scenic order. So everything that takes place in the street, all the street moments are one scene. All the residential moments are one scene. All the
Spaceship.
Spaceship, tent. Yeah, what are you gonna do with those pies, boys? All that's in there.
I wanted that melted sundae, and I couldn't get it last year. I'm glad to go.
Yes, and don't eat it because it's not real.
Found that out the hard way.
Yes. And then let's go to the backside, which is really strong this year. You know, I feel like I was kind of watching. You kind of watch the guests as they go through and like which direction they go. I think a lot of people are being pulled to that side actually first because there's so much strong content over there. In the tents, Patrick Braylard and I kind of split the house design between the two of us with concept with the scenic team. And so he has Blood Pit, Nightingale's Blood Pit in tent 1, and I think it was, 2011 was the Nightingale's first time. It was real popular, and then we were like, oh, we got this gladiators. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It was like gladiators and Nightingales. There we go. All right. So it's very, very bloody, very, very smelly, and it takes place in the Hippogeum underneath Gladiator Arena. So it's
History nerds.
again, history nerds. Like, what about that? Tent 2 is Depths of Fear, and that has a really fun lead-up video. So when you walk in, basically it's telling you that you as the guest are the rescue team to go down there deep in the ocean and rescue these people who are in the mining facility. And he's basically saying, don't send the team, don't send the team.
Too late,
then,
we sent the team.
Yeah, we sent the team, that's you guys. And then they're like, oh, the creature's loose, it's killing everyone. Don't send the team. And then the surface level's like, and we're going to blow up the facility so the creature doesn't get out. And then, then you walk in. So we've set you up for success. So not only do you have to contend with this massive creature, also, it's a mouth brooder, so it spews eggs, which has acid in it, so it hits you, and it hits you, and then the eggs start eating your flesh, and then they grow and they sprout these little adolescent baby eel-like eggs, or creatures, so they're after you, and the massive creature's after you. And on top of the whole thing, the hosts that have the eggs are driven insane, and they're looking for more flesh to eat, to feed the babies. So that's you guys. It's coming after you, so be delicious. And then the hosts are after you. And then on top of it all, we have 4 minutes to get through before the whole place explodes. So it's a very intense, very fun tent.
Pay attention, there's a lot of story in there that these two cameo in.
Oh yeah, there's some
Stuff
that you...
Patrick Brother gets ripped in half.
I think he does.
Yeah, he does. Because we love him.
So does my dog.
So is your dog.
I think everybody here's been here already.
All right, fine.
There were like 7 people there. Don't forget.
We take everybody out. Everybody. It's like those late 80s movies like, what was it, Deep Star 6, Leviathan, all those ones were kind of like, oh yeah, I love those kind of movies where they just keep knocking off everybody.
Who survives?
Nobody. It's not even you. And then we go over to 108, which is Universal Monsters. No, and there's a very big distinction there. It's not classic monsters.
Right, no,
it's Universal Monsters. We invented them. And those characters are a part of our history. And so we redesigned a lot of the looks. And I have to say the Frankenstein's the best it has ever looked, in my opinion. It does look like a reanimated corpse. Parts of it are missing. You see parts of his jaw and his teeth. It looks very ferocious. All the characters great. And we got the Gill Man. Come on, Creature from the Black Lagoon. That's where I nerded out. I'm like, where did we get that guy? All right, so it's really cool. It's an amazing, your team did an amazing job on the house, man. It's awesome. B79 is Graveyard Games. Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't know, Social dropped it's a Facebook Messenger app. Check out the UOHHN Orlando on the Twitters or social. You can click on that and it should send you to, it's kind of like a chatbot type thing where you can go through and you can talk to the grandfather or the kid and just find out all the backstory. I wrote like a little short story and like, super nerd, like, oh, there's lots of backstories for like all the different people buried in there and what happened to them, how they ended up there, the curses, all the different things in there. So it's a lot of fun. The glowing mother comes to life to protect the cemetery, which takes place in Ascension Parish, Louisiana. And, yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
It's as Nick Collins, the designer of that house, says, it's Halloween comfort food.
Yes.
It's exactly what you want around a Halloween event.
Absolutely.
It feels right.
It feels right. It's delicious. But it is really gorgeous in there. The decor team did an amazing job. It's amazing what Spanish moss can do. Yes, it really is. So that's been really good. And the performers in there, when you go through, just applaud them because they are acting like it's week 4. Like you can tell from first day to like mid-run, you can see how the performers are acting to their triggers. And I think we got a lot of vets in there or something because right off the bat they're like, whoa, gosh, no notes for you. You're scaring me. And then we make our way over to sound stages, and we have our last original, which is Yeti Terror of the Yukon, and we got some big fellas in there. Little funny stories. Mike Aiello does not get scared usually.
Nah.
Most of us don't, because we go, okay, he got scared 4 times. 4 times. It was awesome.
Little surprises around every corner.
Around every corner. But yeah, it's a lot of fun in there, and there's some little Easter egg kind of comedy things happening there too, which is a lot of fun. And then we have Us, Jordan Peele's Us, and this is a bit of an experiment because really instead of you boo and skidoo and jump out and get you, there's a lot of pops, but it really is walking through the movie. It's walking through the choreography of the movie in a lot of ways. And I think it's being well received in that way. I think people are like, oh, it's like walking through the play. You know, if we were doing a play and you were actually walking in the middle of scenes on a play. So don't really go out there and do that. But
at least we sent part of our cast through that weren't from that house, obviously, to experience it. As they all walk out, they're like, okay, that works.
Yeah,
that works.
And I think that's a testament that there is different types of fear out there. You know what I mean? It's not just always. There's that creep factor, and it's fun that we can bring the creep factor to suspense, that kind of thing. So, oh, this is possible. This is really fun.
The soundtrack for that movie is so good throughout the whole maze. Like, oh, this will just put you on edge.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then we go to. Sorry, it's late. Is it? We go to. We've been up for 48 hours. So we go to. Ghostbusters, which is our love letter. Man,
we talked about that for years.
We did,
and in all different types of ways of representing it too. And it's
absolutely. And we still, when we found out we could do it, we're still like, can we? So if you guys have questions, I won't talk too deep into that one, because if you guys have questions, we can answer those. But it is our love letter to that movie. We just love it. Stranger Things, season 2 and 3. It's long, it is a long house, and what I love about it is for those of you who come night after night, you're all annual pass holders. You come a lot and to this event, and you're like, you have that rhythm, like when scene 10's there, you kind of get that rhythm. Like, yeah, the house should be done. There's people halfway through the thing, like, is it done yet? They're like, nope, there's a lot more to go, buddy. So season 2 and 3, and it gives us a wide variety of characters too, and you can kind of see. Hopper in different looks and 11 in different looks and all the fun characters. And we created the largest puppet we've ever created.
That's big.
It's huge. Huge. And that's all. So
that's all the houses, right?
That's
all 10?
All 10.
All 10, awesome.
Let's talk about pizza fries.
Let's talk about pizza fries. Pizza fries.
Woo! Did you see they got dessert pizza fries?
Did they have a s'mores one or something? Who tried that? How was it?
It was okay. It was better if the same fries were actually churros.
That's sinful.
That's churro fries covered.
Oh my gosh, I do too.
We're in charge of food.
We're gonna talk to you later.
That's not good. Now I can't get churro fries out of my mind. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 2 shows that we have. The first being I always get it wrong, it's Marathon of Halloween's Marathon of Mayhem, right? Is that it? Oh, okay. That's all I can actually. That is on our lagoon out in the middle of the park. It runs 3 times a night, I believe. And it is a multimedia, laser, video, fountain, color, projection, music extravaganza.
It's everything.
It is everything. It focuses on the houses and houses mainly, right?
Yeah, they're
the themes: the Ghostbusters, Stranger Things, Killer Clowns, Universal Monsters. Did I miss anything? I don't know there. But it is amazing. Jason Horn directed that, and it is a compilation of video, but all the video has a sort of 90s or 80s graphic slant to it, so it's not just the film being projected on water screen. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. It's down by the lagoon. It's sort of a standing room only sort of thing, and again runs 3 times a night. And the entrance is over by Mel's Circle, so it's about a 15 15 to 18 minute show?
No, it's about 9.5 minutes.
Oh, 9.5 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry. My bad.
I got you.
He
Okay,
knows.
I know.
I know,
Oh, I
because
know.
it butts up to my scare zone.
Yeah. Keep it short, Jason. Keep it short. We got Vikings out here.
That's Vikings, man.
But it's awesome. Check that out. The other show, if you've been to the event in the past 4 years, you've probably seen them. Academy of Villains is returning with a new, bigger, awesome show, which is sort of centers around a Jekyll and Hyde-esque sort of storyline, sort of in a Victorian era setting. The theater itself is bigger. I mean, the set is bigger than anything we've ever done in Fear Factor before. It is massive. Anybody seen the show yet? Yeah, good, yes. What I loved Cyberpunk last year, but what I love more about this particular show is it even feels more like our Halloween brand. The performers are outrageous. The contortionist phonetics is, it doesn't look real. It looks like some weird CGI creation. It's just completely contorted, and it's like, I didn't know the arm could twist 3 times around the shoulder socket without falling off.
It's not supposed to.
It's not supposed to. So go see that, and go see it a couple times, because there's so much going on. Even through rehearsals, there's something going on up here, and there's something going down here. You just sort of have to look all around to see everything that they're doing. And I just got to throw a shout out to AOV. The group themselves are amazing. They have the best work ethic. They are in the best shape it's amazing how hard these people work, and they just love putting on that show. So when you guys get out there and scream and whoop it up, that feeds them, and you'll just get an even more intense show from them. So make sure you go see that at least 2 or 3 times.
Absolutely. Event's over and AOV goes back home. We should just keep the setup and do like Oliver Twist.
Yeah, I'm the best. Anything set in London.
Yeah. So that's the event, and we know some of you have some questions, so...
We hope you have questions. Lots of questions. We'll answer.
If you
all
don't,
the
we're going to go get some pizza fries.
Churro fries.
Churro.
So we have a couple people out here with mics. So if you have a question, just please raise your hand, please, and they'll run over and we'll answer, like I said, anything you have. Don't be shy. Someone be first. Right here. We got one. Where's our? I'm sorry. We got one down here. Go ahead. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
How do you decide when you're going through like the list of scare zones and houses, which ones should be houses versus scare zones?
We'll start. Well, I'll just give you a little brief overview of how we develop the event. Typically, we start with houses, simply because those are the things that take the longest. They take a full year to develop. Just to fill you in, we're going to take Monday through Friday. We're going to be here at work, but we're kind of just stop thinking about Halloween if we can for a week. The following week, we start next year. We start our HHN 30. Woo! So we will spend several months just sitting around developing the ideas for the houses. Some of them will be the intellectual properties, our like Stranger Things and Ghostbusters, all of those. And then we'll come up with our original houses as well during that time. Streets usually starts a little later, although we try to get it as early as possible. I think this year we started January, February, was it?
Yeah, but like when they start their beginning conceptual, I'll kind of jump in and get a feel for where the event is going on the house front, and plus with the IPs. And the same thing, sometimes we actually might know the street IP early too.
Early, yeah.
As well. So then we can kind of figure out how to complement, each other.
And what we try to, even with the houses and then to the streets as well, we try to create a well-rounded event where all the houses aren't about slaughter and killing. There's fun houses, there's supernatural houses there. So we're trying to do a little bit of everything for the houses, and then that ekes over into the streets as well. We need different types. You have Hollywood, which is a little bit more gore and blood. You have the zombies and the Zombieland, and then Vikings. So it's again trying to create an event that doesn't feel like the same. And every year we do everything new again. So we have to look back at last year and say, what did we do last year? And let's try not to repeat ourselves as much as possible. Although it's a horror genre, it's kind of hard. It's like how many different permutations can you make? So next, answer your question.
Want to just bounce back and forth?
Yeah.
We'll let you guys guide it and say, I got one over here.
So what IP have you guys been chasing after, like, that has something that's been on your mind other than obviously like Ghostbusters that you guys haven't been able to grab a hold of that you guys really want to do?
Well, to be honest, it is hard to not say Ghostbusters because that was
Right, because that was one we've been chasing for so long.
Yeah.
I'll say, and to be honest, it's hard to say what we want to do because we also don't know what we're able to do. There are, to be transparent, there are a lot of contracts that need to be signed and approaching, especially if it's IPs that we don't particularly own, it's other studios, etc. So I can't say anything we haven't done because we might be chasing that currently.
Right, yeah.
And I don't want to be the one who screws up the deal, but that's okay. But if it's out, let me put it this way: if it's popular and really touches a chord with the audience, it's probably something we've thought of. I mean, we've gone through everything. Basically every year we'll look at all the properties that are out there, and we'll make our sort of a wish list, top 10 list. We'll even dig down to things that we want to do.
Yeah, there's usually like that
Killer Clowns. Killer Clowns is one of those.
Cabin in the Woods, Killer Clowns. All those ones were like ones that didn't necessarily have like a niche feel to it. And then since we're nerds, we're like, that were like, can we really want to do that one? And they're like, all right, fine.
Yeah, nobody was screaming for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And then we did it in the Street Zone, and it's like, holy crap, people really like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So, trust me, there are things out there that we would love to do. Some of them we are unable to do for whatever reason, and then others we just haven't got there yet. We haven't had the opportunity to do that. So, I don't think there's anything we haven't heard of out there that we haven't explored or brought up on our big giant wish list of stuff to do.
Cool. Hey guys, thanks for the houses. Love what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have you ever considered having any of the actors from like Ghostbusters or Zombieland or anything like that come here like you did for Stranger Things and they got to do a tour of the house?
I mean, I would say usually whenever we work on a property, the invite's kind of open. It's, people are, and
we would love.
They're working on, just like we were talking about, we start working on Halloween 30 in a week. But those guys too, like their lives and their projects, what they're working on, the way they're overlaid, their calendars they're pretty slammed.
Cool.
So it's fortunate when we can get someone in between stuff like we were able to.
Yeah, if we could get Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, But yeah,
just to hang out,
love that. Absolutely.
But I mean, we got the Chiodo brothers here. That was awesome, and
their enthusiasm's like infectious about.
Oh yeah, I love those guys. They're awesome. And then we got to talk to the Reitmans, father and son. That was pretty.
Oh yeah, Ivan and Jason. Yeah, and it's a scheduling thing too. A lot of those people that work on those things are West Coast people, so that it's logistically difficult just to get everybody out here to do that thing when they could also go to the USH thing, which is right in their backyard, and do whatever promotional things. So yeah, we would love to get some of those people out here.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, what is your favorite show, house, and street that you've ever done, and why?
Ooh, ever?
Yes. Ever.
No. I need to think. That's right.
Because he's got a mind for the Rolodex.
Yeah. Why don't you go
Doing
first?
this before the days the oceans break Atlantis. My favorite thing that I've got to work on, it's weird because like sometimes something I might not. If something comes to me and I go, well, actually, Rob Zombie's is a really good example. When I was asked to like investigate what to do with that for a zone, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not a storyline, so what am I going to do here? And I wasn't sure how it was going to come together. I'll be honest, it sounds awesome. I mean, it's like living in a rock concert, a rock video. So sometimes stuff catches you by surprise. We never quite know sometimes. Sometimes you go, this is what people are going to love, and people like it, and the thing you were like, I don't know if that's going to work, ends up being everybody's like favorite thing. But for me personally, as far as like having a very much a slice of Blake's brain out on the street, it was the Invasion Zone with the spaceship crashed in the 50s. That old kitschy sci-fi stuff, that's me all day long. I love that stuff. It made me so happy when they let me do that. Yeah. I got theremins up in there. It was great.
Oh, theremin. Sweet theremin. Yeah, I think if you're talking about like a slice of our brain, I kind of look it's not much there. A sniver. Dollhouse of the Damned is one of my favorites. And Carnival Graveyard Life. Like, I'm more bent towards that type of, like, I like to have the jump out scares, but I like to have like a, what the heck was that feeling behind stuff too. I think there's something fun about that. I think I almost like it when not everybody gets it. And I know that's not a good marketing thing to say, but that's how I, you know, some people kind of go, there's giant baby heads with the legs hanging out of them, and I don't know, I was scared to death, but I don't know what I saw. And then I go, yeah! I'm real excited. And I like backstories behind things. Like, I could just, just sit and talk back. Like, last year I wrote kind of like a Bible of all the characters and how they knew each other and all that kind of stuff, and I shared it with the cast, and I like that kind of like deep dive. And then, even if you don't get it, you know, when you're walking through that, you know, it's just fun. Yeah. It's just fun. So, okay.
I've been doing this for 20 years, so it's really hard to think of. But I will go back. I remember 2011, way back in that was 8 years ago. That was the first year we did Nightingales. I think we did The Thing. We did the Edgar Allan Poe house. There was just so much variety, and I remember just all the sets seemed, you know, in depth and everything. So that whole year, I really, really liked. I also loved the second year. I liked the first year too, but the second year we did. I think it was the second year. I'm so confused. The American Horror Story. It was super long, and it was like, wow, this actually feels like the show and everything. So, and then one of the things I always love, and Blake sort of touched on this, where, you know, if you're doing all this content, you have in your mind the things that are working, the things that are not going to. It's like, it's not going to work. And there's always something that surprises you. And the one for me during developing it, because it was just so hard to picture it as a house, was last year's Poltergeist. Yeah. And I was like, let's try some of this stuff. Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't until, literally it wasn't until we got the performers in there rehearsing in costume that I was like, holy crap, this is kind of scary. When walking through those first tunnels, I was like, this is awesome. So that one took me completely off guard, pleasantly off guard, and it seemed to track real well with all the guests, everybody out there, because it was always in the sort of top 3 of everybody's favorite house.
There was a piece of the house that was as bright as could be. I remember walking through it going, how is that going to be scary?
Oh, yeah.
So many scares.
Yeah. So it's, those are a few, like if I had a whole list, maybe it would change, but those are the ones that sort of stick out in my mind. And this year, again, to be honest, I walked through several of them the other night, and it was, every one of them was at a level that I had not seen yet. Even in our final dress rehearsal, it's like, all right, that's kind of working. I walked through with the guests, and it was crazy intense. The Universal Monsters house, Graveyard Games were even better than I had seen them just 2 days prior. So that actually, as the event goes on and the actors get more comfortable and they, again, sort of feed off the guest reaction, they learn, there's a psychology game that they learn what most guests are going to do, and then they play off that. So I think the event just gets more intense as it goes. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for doing this. I definitely enjoyed the Stranger Things house, but I was curious as to the decision to combine both seasons 2 and 3 into one house, as opposed to, maybe pushing season 3 to next year.
I think it was variation of character, because if you had just all demo dogs or just all one, sometimes, and we already had that this year, where we have a lot of single aggressors or single. Does that make sense? Like the Depths of Fear creatures, Yetis. It's all kind of that singular Predator, that gave us an opportunity to get a lot of different, we have Demogorgons, Demodogs, a lot of different characters, different looks, and we knew it was going to be a longer maze, so we wanted just to get that variety going, and I think sometimes that outweighs.
And I think also since the previous years, Stranger Things has premiered sort of in October. With this year premiering in July, season 3 was also on everybody's minds. I mean, they had just watched it; it's fresh. So to not address that, if you will, and if we ignored it, I think people would be asking the other question of why didn't you include season 3? So we just wanted to create a bigger house, almost double size, and do both seasons combined. So you wrap up season 2 and boom, right into season 3. So those were some of the considerations.
Hi, great event as always.
There you go. There. Where are you?
I need like a little flag.
I've been coming to this event for years, and it's been a few years since you guys had an original event icon, like Jack the Clown, or Usher, or Storyteller. Why over the past few years have you deviated from that, and would you potentially go back to that, especially with number 30 coming up next year?
Well, I think the second question is easy to answer, because when anyone says, would you ever do something again, we never say never.
Right,
exactly. Never, yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's, for us too, it's easy to get stuck in a rut, and this gives you the opportunity to try and do different things and branch out. So if we ever did swing back, now we have a different perspective from working on another end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think from a just a marketing standpoint, I think I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think
go right ahead.
Go ahead.
This is Hughes, not the maker Charles.
I think for the southeast region, or especially Central Florida, everything, they love the icon. I mean, a lot of the people, Jack the Clown, the caretaker, the director, all of those. But I think because this has become a worldwide event, I mean, people come from the other side of the globe to this event. They come from all parts of the United States. And I think part of that push is to put things out there also that they recognize that they would drive or fly 3,000, 5,000 miles to come see. And I think an original character that they've never heard of might not drive them to drive or fly that distance. So I think that might be part of it as well. But as Blake said, it doesn't mean we wouldn't do that.
I agree.
Over here, for real.
Hey guys, big fan. One question I have with the IP houses is, what is the hardest type of media to interpret into a house? Because you guys do all kinds of things, from TV, movies, video games, all kind of stuff. Which one's like the most challenging to adapt to a house?
I didn't work on it, but I think working with you guys, I've gathered, I'll see if I've guessed correctly. Because in a video game, the player has control. Is it a video game?
Well, I was going to have a different answer. I was going to give an answer that wasn't going to make you happy at all.
Because I was going to say, well, make a good house.
Sure.
That's a challenge you have to.
I was going to say it's less about the medium itself, whether it's a video game or a poem or a film or television. It's more about the content of that particular thing. Sometimes it might be hard just because it's a giant CGI, Lord of the Rings superhero sort of battle thing. It's like, well, how are we going to do that in a haunted house? So we might get things that are popular and are exciting films, so to say, but then we'll get it and say, but how does this translate into a maze? So I think it's less about the medium itself and more about what the content and the story is. It's how do we, because we have to take that and sort of abstract it into a theatrical performance, for lack of a better term. And some of those things are, even Ghostbusters, which is like, oh, everybody loves to see Ghostbusters, right? And it's like, yes, okay, how do we take that, which works great on film, and then how do we do it, which is essentially a dark ride that people are walking through, and deliver on that sort of epic scale of Ghostbusterness, if you will. Yeah. So I don't know that, like I said, that's not the best answer in the world, but that's the kind of way we hit it. It's just, it depends on the content itself, I think.
Yep.
What are the Easter eggs for Zombieland Double Tap?
Have you ever been on an Easter egg hunt? The eggs are hidden, and if someone tells you where they are, it's not an Easter egg hunt. So, but I will let Blake answer the question.
I think David did. I can tell you, for right now, there are some characters. If you'll notice, there is a photo op for Zombieland Double Tap for the second film that's coming out. Keep an eyeball on some of the characters that are around that zone. And that's all I'll say. I will throw out an Easter egg though of comedy. But it's from the first film. Is keep your eyes peeled for this. You guys remember they go to a very famous Hollywood actor's house? Keep your eye peeled for that character, because I didn't even give them this direction, and they are doing stuff that is so funny out there, and it's so appropriate because here's all these scares, and then this guy. Keep your eye peeled for that. I don't want to tell you what he does because it's funnier if you see it. So just keep your eyes peeled for that.
Hey guys, just a quick question. I know that every year Horror Nights gets a little bit bigger. We're up to 10 houses now, and I'm just wondering, considering the recent Epic announcement, will we be keeping Halloween Horror Nights here 5 years from now, or is there a grounds up kind of planning stage for a future playground?
That's way above our pay grade.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
They don't
I know
That's
going to be epic.
We only get to think about the next Halloween.
We're only, and we haven't started yet, but that's like, in 2 weeks we start thinking about next year. But yeah, and that's an honest answer.
That's an honest answer, yeah.
No idea at all.
They're like, you guys just worry about that Halloween thing.
Way over here.
Hi.
Hi.
So it's actually my first time coming to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering if you guys had like a suggestion of something that I absolutely had to see.
Everything.
Yeah. Okay, but I want to ask you a question. Are you going to come just once or more than once? Okay, so let me answer part of it. For me, my personal, so after you do all the things, right? Then get some pizza fries, and then sit on a park bench or kind of find a little place, right? And then just watch people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're all like, yeah. It is so much fun. So much fun to watch the event, because then it just kind of all washes away a little bit. Everything kind of moves, and now it's a completely different show. So don't do that your first couple times. Experience the event, see the show a bunch of times, go through the house multiple times, get all that out of your system, and then once you do, then just be in the event, and it is so, there's just, you can't,
in other words, you go out right now and get scared. And then when you're done getting scared, watch other people get scared, because it's awesome. It's my favorite perk of the job. Is to sit on some little dark corner and just watch people scream ping pong style through a street.
I think those multi-night passes and things are great, because the first night you're here, first 2 nights you're stressing about, I gotta see that, I gotta see that, I gotta see that, I gotta see it, I gotta see it for everybody else too. So getting that out of your system, and then you come back to the event and just sort of just relax. And it's like, oh, we'll go see this, we'll go see that, maybe we'll get some drinks, we'll sit down. It's, I think the second, third time you get to actually relax and maybe even enjoy the event more, where there's not that pressure to get it all done in a single night.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. What's your favorite fail, like a scene or setup that you thought was just going to nail it, and it didn't, but you still love?
It never happened to me, but
Let's talk about one of Patrick's.
I feel like there's never truly a fail. It's hard to learn a lesson. Yeah, it's hard to learn a lesson. Challenge. No, I think sometimes we want to pack so much into a space, right? You want to get all the scenes in there. You want to get all the stuff in. And the only time that I feel there's a fail is when I don't think we've set up a performer to succeed, right? They have to fight against so much sometimes, like audio or something like that. That kind of like angers me at me, like, wow, you idiot, you know. But because I mean, the characters are the lifeblood of this thing. They're the ones who just work their tails off and they drive everything. So, like, if just the audio isn't enough for them, or they can't
fit through a hole or
something like that, then I just that's when I'm just like,
there are so many, because there's so much potential for failure throughout the 10 houses. Each house has 10 or more scenes, so there's 100 plus scenes for performers to do things. And in those scenes there's audio, there's effects, there's lighting. So it is an amazing logistical challenge just to make sure those things are all operational by the time the event opens. So now, the original question was, what's your favorite fail?
That's a weird way to put that.
Yeah. I would go back to a house we did, 2002 over in Islands of Adventure. That was based on a television show that we currently have a show in the park, Fear Factor. And it was not the best thing in the world. It was just from conception, it was just like, we're doing a house based on Fear Factor. What does that mean? It was. Did anybody go through that house? Yeah. Sorry. Thanks, David. You know what I'm talking about. So it's universally, no pun intended, cited. So that would be one that was it just never had a strong concept, and we're trying to do things, and then we're trying to change things, and that would be.
But that's a good point. We're always changing. So like what we have tonight, if you come to last night,
it evolves.
It evolves. So if things are what you might call a fail, we'll improve it, we'll change it, and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen some performers where they'll come in and I go, ooh, I don't know if this is exactly turned out how I thought it would. The room's smaller than I thought, or whatever, and then they just kill it, and you're like, wow, this is like the best scene in the house, I remember in American Horror Story House, the doll room. I was in there and I was like, I want this baby powder smell, and then the actors here, and I just thought in my mind it was going to be bigger. I just thought the room was going to be bigger, and then once everything was in there, I was like, I was kind of like, oh, this is a fail, tear, and it turned out to be amazing. Like that, the performers who were in were awesome. People walked in and go, whoa, the baby powder would just smack them in the face, and it was just creepy, all those dolls up there and stuff. So that's kind of that type of stuff is also makes it more enjoyable when it just turns into something even better than you thought it was going to be. How about you?
We're not getting off the hook.
I've only been doing this for a little while, so my big one's probably coming. It hasn't hit yet. I don't know. I can sit here trying to rack my brain and think of one. I'll tell you what you failed on. You know what? Sometimes I will say there's so many people working on this event, and where you can get frustrated with yourself, kind of like Charles was saying, you get angry with yourself, is communication is something we always constantly work on, and it never ends because the event gets bigger, and then these teams that you communicated with in a certain way have new or more people or whatever. And there was an element where we wanted Stillwalker to go up on this big piece, and somehow between like conception design and partnering with those that have to make that safe, it got missed, and we could no longer have the Stillwalker up on there, and we can only put regular characters. And I just was so bummed out. However, the characters that ended up going up there were so good and became little mini icons within the street itself that it worked itself out. So did we all kind of say it was a failure, but it turned out all right, except for you?
No, mine failed.
That was just
Let's move on.
So I'm not a big horror fan personally, but I love the development and the design of like the houses and the scare zones. So my question was, do you guys prefer the developing stages or the finished product?
It's like a journey or destination question.
Chicken or egg, bro.
There's a ton of fun in that initial concept.
Yeah.
That is hard to recapture until you get back to doing that again. Because then
reality
doesn't matter. yeah. And it's so much fun to just blue skies.
I think there's a again, back to that journey. The development is awesome because we sit in a room with 4 or 5 people and we're just throwing everything out. I mean, so there are no wrong answers. There are better answers, but there are no wrong answers.
You
There's
never
lots
said
of
that to me.
I and then the development's fun, and then you get into the reality. So there's about a 70% into the event where it's horrible. I mean, it's where you're building all this stuff at once, and you're trying to keep track of it, and either this is not quite working, and it's that. Again, 70 to 80% where you just want to pull your hair out. I've been doing it longer than these two. And then you get to the fulfillment, which is the end of it when everything turns out as good or better than you thought. I mean, and that was just like 2 days ago.
It is like running a marathon, though.
Yeah.
The beginning of the race, you're running with your friends. You're like, man, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We did 13.1.
And then you got 21 miles.
Or whatever. And you're like running. And then from mile 2 till, this hurts. This is, And then you see the finish line. You go, we're there.
Yeah. And then throw water on you and you're happy. So I love to me, I personally love the development just because it's a lot more collaborative. And then everybody they don't go away, but everybody goes in a different direction to do their specific discipline or the thing they're focused on. And then as Blake mentioned, it's that trying to maintain that communication again through all threads to keep it floating, elevated, and keep it moving along its track.
Yeah, because for a while, like, we're living with our designer constantly, and then there's this part where you turn around and you go, I haven't seen you in like 2 weeks. Because you're out kind of doing your own things, whether we're developing like show elements, and they're working with vendors on the scenic stuff. So it just and then so it's nice when we get to come back around when the gates open. We can actually walk around and hang out together and enjoy what's happening.
That's what we talked about a year ago, and there it is.
That's
pretty amazing.
Or you're like, what did you do?
I
got real quiet.
You got somebody at some point. This lady had her hand.
She's been so patient. Can
we gotta get
the next question. I want to hear what she has to say.
Right there. 3 over. All right, next.
Where?
You can go while we're waiting.
You go.
Here, yeah.
Hey guys, just curious. How do you decide whether you're going to go with masks or appliances for the scare zones and the houses? And are you using Gorilla Glue this year on your scare zones? Because it's amazing those pieces are staying on those guys.
What if you try to steal?
Security.
Well, that is really, on an IP front, it's really dependent on what the creature or thing looks like itself, right? Sometimes if we're trying to replicate it, we might really try to replicate if it was an actual prosthetic or something. But we have our makeup design team and our designers that come in every year, and then our costume and character designer as well. And it's really a partnership with them, especially with the original stuff. Well, there's a lot of options to go a lot of different ways, and but we take all sorts of stuff into consideration too, though. It might be, I have very much pushed the team this year because between Hollywood and Central Park, no, there's no Gorilla Glue this time. A good idea, maybe. There's a lot of prosthetics, and they get done from the same group of makeup artists. But that means early on in the process, we're talking to each other and we understand, okay, if that's the case, then we've really got the numbers that we have, we know what we need there, and we make sure this group doesn't, have a house attached to it or something that
Right,
only
when we did Hive had tons of prosthetics, so I knew that in the sound stages I couldn't have as many because there's so many man hours. You know what I mean? So many people can do it. So you have to strategize. I mean, you kind of lay it out like you're saying, and be like, I
All
know.
houses can't have prosthetics.
We can't have. Yeah.
And yes, we use Gorilla Glue in the house. We'll anything that'll stick something, screws, silicone, Gorilla Glue. It's all That's a process unto itself. Is once the decor team has everything, it looks great on a film. That's awesome. You could just put stuff up, take pictures of it, film it, and then put it away. Our stuff, we get it up, it's there. It's like great. Now screw it to the wall, screw it to the floor, screw it to the desk, whatever. Make sure that when somebody does grab it, which they do, and they will, it at least stays unless they really put a.
I will slap their hand.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to test everything when you go through your house to see if it's like on the wall. It is, so you don't have to touch it. Yeah, yes,
good.
it is.
We're good.
Oh yeah, that cup is glued to the thing. It is.
Just know that now.
Okay, very patient lady in the front row.
Hi, I was wondering what advice you might have for people who aspire to be part of the HHN creative team, particularly the writing process.
This is always hard, and we've all talked about this too. Whether it's people looking at it from a design angle or like a show direction or writing side, because we get this question a lot. And what makes it a hard answer is all of us have such different stories as far as how we ended up doing what we're doing.
I would say we don't have just a writer. I can be honest with you. We don't have just a director. We don't have just. We're a jack of all trades, and so I can honestly say every single person on our team when we first started was like, what you don't know is blaring what you don't know, because you got to know everything, right? Like lighting, audio, all the different factors. So for our team and the concept team, we're doing everything, which is kind of rare in the business. Like we see from the beginning all the way to the end. Usually we would have like just a writer, and then they would take it and they would just be the director and stuff like that. But I think in our group it's.
Well, and I don't know if any, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Does anybody in our group have what you consider formal writing training or education as far as part of? I mean that was the thing. A lot of us have theater in our background. I was theater design. I know the performance and
I have taken classes after this because I didn't do a lot of writing stuff in school. So actually, I knew that was a weak thing for me, and I had created some shows for another company before I moved down here to Florida, and I loved this. Like the first script that I had on my own that I wrote and produced, it was this like murder mystery comedy thing, and I loved it, but I hated doing it because it was so hard. I was directing it while I wrote it in the sense of instead of just spitting it out, I was really editing, and it took me way longer than it would for a pro writer. And because I knew that, I started taking some like online courses and stuff just to supplement that side, because it was just something I didn't have in my wheelhouse as far as training was concerned, where I had done directing courses and stuff like that, but I really hadn't studied much on the writing side of things.
And I think, like drawing or art, I think if you're interested in writing, it's write. Just write. Yeah. Don't wait to write the perfect thing. You write 10,000 bad things first, and then you'll get that good.
Because like opportunity doesn't like wait for you to be like, I'm ready now. Now opportunity. You know, it's one of those.
I'm perfect. Where, someone hire me now. You know?
Yeah. So just like, well, what do you got? And then you have to like have it ready to go, and it always is in an opportune time when opportunity pops up a lot of times. So you got to be.
Yeah, you're not ready for it. It's like, wait, it's now. Now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I think the other thing, specifically if you're interested in sort of HHN or entertainment, theater is paramount. But I think if you go to any theatrical department in college or university, you get a well-rounded. You learning about other disciplines, not just the one you're interested in. If you want to be a performer, learning about stagecraft and learning about lighting is helpful only in that you can communicate with people. You know the language. It's like learning French, Spanish, and German. When you're talking to them about different things, you understand what they're talking about and can speak their language. So I think taking theater craft classes, if you're a designer or writer, taking acting classes just so you understand. So kind of immersing yourself in the entertainment environment, I think, helps you understand, and again, helps you be more well-rounded.
You could speak more to this, but I will say I've met a lot of young people who want to go into design and stuff, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you. It's a relationship with him. But a lot of the schools are teaching like a lot of the computer aspects of it, but the freehand or drawing, some of them are kind of straying away from that. So I always tell young kids who are like, I want to design this stuff. I'm like, you make sure you learn how to dribble the basketball too. So make sure you still draw and put the computer away, turn it off, and actually pen to paper and on your drafting board or whatever, get that skill too, because even if things go digital, there's always the power's going to go out someday, right?
Well, I think it's also just in our world, it's paramount. Communication is key. A lot of people will come in and they're home haunters or they've been doing it. and they have multiple talents, and they've been the person that's been doing it all the whole time. In our world, it's more about being able to translate your idea so that other people can work on it as well. Because in our world, you don't do it all. You can't. It's just impossible. You have to collaborate. You have to work with the other people. And as a result, you have to be able to communicate, whether it's through drawings, words, scripts, ideas. You have to be able to communicate your ideas so somebody else can do it or take it forward. When we do our set drawings, the whole idea is we do these drawings so that we can hand them to a scenic department, a scenic company, and they can build from those. So it's all about forms of communication, drawing, doing scenic elevations, concept art, whatever it is, it's putting it together so that you can communicate that to somebody else. They can carry the ball from that point and communicate it to other people, because you can't, in this thing, you can't do it by yourself. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands of people that.
And it's moving so fast that if you do miscommunicate, if there is a miscommunication, it's going to ripple effect through this whole, the dominoes are crazy. So you have to be clear, like you said, and also be able to prioritize in any of your crafting or whatever. A lot of times, I think whether you're writing or painting or whatever you're doing, a lot of times you're like, I want this to be perfect, and you take your time. And then if you were to come in and work with us, be like, okay, awesome, I need that by tomorrow. What? Like this takes me like a week. And be like, look, you got a day.
But
you don't have time. So you got to learn to prioritize. Like what's the most important? How do I boil this down? You know,
all that other stuff. I'd say like actually doing these jobs. Having the talent portion to do it is like the given. The part that really makes or breaks you is all this other stuff that they're talking about, communication and being able to finish something, because finished and good is better than perfect and quarter done.
Get it done and get it good. I think in everything we work on, everything we end up with is a translation of what we started with.
Yeah.
It's never exactly where we started, and we'll walk out and say, well, that's not what I was thinking, but that's pretty good. So again, when you're working with so many people, it's not going to be black and white. It's not going to be exactly what you thought. So it has to land in a landing zone. There's a window that it has to fit through. And I think that if it gets in that window, or if it's in that landing zone, we're happy. It's when it's way over here. It's like, that is not at all what I was talking about. And that's our job, is to make sure that we sort of keep it along a path. And as long as it's on the path, then we're good.
Yeah.
Good question. Where are our people? Back that way.
Hey, what was the process in wanting to do a Rob Zombie Scare Zone based off his album and a separate Rob Zombie house based off one of his movies all in the same year?
I think it was just serendipitous. I don't know if it was actually.
It wasn't
a plan. It wasn't a plan. It just like that's one of those cases where it wasn't a. Because you could say, well, why wouldn't you wait till next year and do Rob Zombie this? Or I don't know. It just felt right.
Yeah, and actually, Mike Aiello, he had said to me that the idea of something with like Rob Zombie, the music, not
Rob Zombie, the director.
Rob Zombie, but his music, maybe at some point it floated of maybe doing something. Had been floating around, and so sometimes it's a thought out plan. Other times it does kind of work out. Lucky that we're going to do it. For developing it. I mean, to be honest, I just started going through and mining like all of his videos and just going through, looking at every single character, every piece of scenic that's inside of it, because I knew with something like that, just like Ghostbusters, that you have so many hardcore dedicated fans to Rob Zombie that getting those details is going to be really, really important. And I didn't know that the designer, Dylan Coliff, was such a fan of Rob Zombie, and he is, and it's great because he incorporated a lot of little things. I mean, that throne isn't in the music videos, but it's inside the album art. Of the album, you'll see Rob Zombie actually sitting on that throne that we've got there for a photo op. So just making sure that all those little details were covered, and because there were such distinct characters that are in his music videos, it's great because they look like stuff that we would have done at Halloween Horror Nights. So these group of characters look great, so let's build some scenic around those guys and have these people live out here. And just sort of looking at the different things. And from the beginning, Living Dead Girl was always a big part of it because it's already so theatrical in its presentation. And so we knew for sure that it had to be out there. And Dracula at first was going to be a set and that, and then I think it was Dylan that suggested, because we already had enough sets, like people love, it's such an iconic music video, let's give guests the opportunity to actually be in the Dracula vehicle and get their picture taken in it. Which is actually kind of a new thing, speaking of that, of looking stuff for the scare zones that we had done before. I mean, 15 years ago, we weren't worried about pictures, but now everybody's got like a 12 megapixel camera just on their phone. So like, you do want those elements. You want to be able to have those things. So we actually incorporated moments that we knew people would also get good photos of. Sometimes it's stuff like the fashion runway in Vanity Ball, but Rob Zombieland. In Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe, it was actually creating elements people could actually take photos with from those iconic music videos. But it was a ton of fun. His music videos are filmed like he films, very frenetic. And I will say, it was real hard actually to get some good looks. Yeah, some good screen caps to see, because the camera's moving so fast. But Rob Zombie's people actually reached out to us and got us some really good HD versions of stuff so that we could look through everything better. And we also had some backstage photos and stuff for some of the creatures to help us put those together. And it was just cool when his manager called and said, "Dude, he thinks this stuff's awesome."
Yeah, we geek out quite a bit too.
The house, I think, is something we've been always been tossing about for years. Since
Hollywood's
came out.
done it a couple times?
I know they've done it at least once. But I mean, when you see the film, it seems like a no-brainer, because that whole movie is essentially designed like a haunted house maze that you would walk through.
Yeah.
So it just took us that long to sort of work it out or make sure it fit into the event for that particular year. So I was glad we got to do it. Like I said, it was just sort of serendipitous that both the Street Zone and the house appeared at the same time.
Well, you actually kind of just asked what I was originally going to, or excuse me, you answered what I was originally going to ask, which was, Hollywood has done A House of a Thousand Corpses 3 times now.
3 times, okay, so 3 times. There you go.
And it was actually a house at Hollywood before it was even a movie, so like there's that long-standing relationship.
Right.
So I guess, just off the top of my head, because it's cool to be able to talk to you guys, Mr. Gray, you have always said you wanted to do a Bigfoot house. Kind of got the opportunity in Slaughter Cinema last year, and that was like the best scene with the swamp yetis. So now you got your full Yeti house. I was just wondering, so now that you've got that, what would be your number 2, like, hey, what can I twist or change from Slaughter Cinema and make into
From Slaughter Cinema specifically?
I think that's the one that has the most potential for kind of like a quasi reboot.
I think it'd be fun to do. I don't know. There's a lot. When you say B movies,
there's so many bad things.
So many bad things you can do. So I'm sure there's other films out there or something. But from that particular house, well, let me walk through it in my head.
That's
yeah.
I know what I want. I want the midnight snack.
Yeah.
I love those things.
That was one of the funniest things where we called them falafel.
The giant head.
Giant head.
I don't know why.
That came out. I think one of the makeup artists, the one who's working on it, said had just eaten a falafel or something. Like, a falafel. Like, okay, that's his name. Makes no sense. Yeah, that's cool. But just that was a lot of fun. I think the facade video was the most fun because just a funny backstory, and don't tell anybody else this. Those are my 2 little girls in the Shitties Kids.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I go, "Do you want to do this video with Daddy?" And my one girl, the youngest one, she was also.
She does voiceover work as well.
Yeah, she was also in Run. She was Wild Child. Well, she was tiny. She was tiny. She was like yelling.
Did she have a vocal appearance in Graveyard Games?
Yeah. No, so yeah, they're both in Graveyard Games too. So that's a whole nother story. But I was like, "Oh, do you want to be in a movie with Dad?" And the little one's like, "Yeah." And then the younger one, the older one goes, "I don't know if I want." I go, "You get to kill Daddy," and they go, "Yeah." Okay. That's not creepy. I don't know.
I'll eat your guts for dinner.
Yeah. My favorite. Yeah. So the video itself was such. I mean, we pulled in so many favors for that.
That was a ton of fun to do.
It was a ton of fun. It was exhausting, but it was awesome. So shout out to Chad Rouchy and the video team. for that. They were great. Yeah, man, that I don't have a complete answer for that because almost any scene in there would be a great movie. Amazon Cannibals from Planet Hell. Come on, that's all. Who wouldn't want to do that one? Yeah, so there's a lot. You never know. You never know. You never know.
So you alluded to there being stories with the Ghostbuster house, especially with you guys wanting to do it for so long. So what were some of your favorite things about doing the house, and what were some of your least favorite things about having to translate it onto the screen, or well, into the house?
I will say, I think one of my least favorite was just trying to cram all of that into one small soundstage, small, big relative. It was just that because we wanted, it's like we would have made it twice as big if we could, because that was probably the least, because as a result you have to change, alter, cut, whatever, just to make it fit. I think one of my favorite things about doing that was just the figuring out how we were going to do the either ghost effects or little things here and there, and then I love a lot of people seen it yet? I don't want to ruin anything for everybody, but I just love I love both iterations of Slimer, the what we call Pepper's ghost, as well as the physical embodiment of him. It was just I've walked through it many times just by myself, with just the stuff going on, lights on. But walking through it with all of you, I don't know how many times I'm scared, not many, but I just walk out with a grin. I walk out smiling and sort of bouncing the whole time. So I don't know if people care if they get scared. I'm just happy to be here, sort of thing. And it's so much fun walking out of the house with the bopping and everything. And I hope that's how everybody feels when they go through. It's just, again, it's just like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. This is so much fun.
So what I was the most stressed out about, but I'm also the most happy with now is, and I think I mentioned that during our thing 2 nights ago here, but I was just talking about, or I basically wrote down, I watched the movie and wrote down every moment I would want to see or hear or encounter. And it was thick. It took all night long.
Oh wait, that's the whole movie.
I was like, you just watched the movie, right? Because I was like, every moment in there is so iconic. Every line of dialogue, everybody's so quotable. It's like, how are we going to do this? And how do you select what we're going to see, what we're not going to see? It was driving me mad. I was actually my wife was like, you need to chill, bro. And have you guys happy with it, right? And have us happy with it. And so one thing that I'm happy that the decision that we made was, what a lot of times what happens is you hit a trigger, the actor comes out, and then while they're resetting it'll go dark, and then you move on, and then they reset and you hit it again. So the triggers are a little bit longer because what will happen is something will happen, I'm not going to tell you what, but something will happen, and then we tacked on a line of dialogue at the end while the actor's resetting, but then you'll hear a line of dialogue that you really wanted to hear at the end of the trigger. So it's a lot of fun. You might be walking through, you might get hit by a terror dog, oh, and then you'll hear aim for the flat top, that character's not necessarily there, but you can hear it, so it puts you in the mood. Who let the dog out? That kind of thing. Lewis isn't there in the moment, but you hear it because you're in the apartment, you see the door moving. So yes.
What was your question?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Thank you. So, a question about Stranger Things house. I've really enjoyed it, but there's so much source material to choose from season 2 and season 3. How do you guys decide what scenes you're going to put in there? Because it seemed to really favor season 2 more than 3. Specifically, I didn't see a lot of the underground area below Starcourt Mall, and there wasn't the machine that opened up the portal. I was kind of wondering why that wasn't there, because that was a big part of season 3.
You answered your question with the word big. That's part of it. All right, funny story, or not so funny. We knew we were going to be doing the Stranger Things house, but at the time, so if you don't all know, we do our stuff back in December or January. Well, this show wasn't even premiering until July. So we didn't even have scripts. We didn't know what the show was. To be quite, I mean, really, they were still filming, still developing the show, and that show was under super, super tight lock and key at the time. So, we developed. We knew we wanted to sort of split the house sort of in half as much as possible. So we were able to develop the first half, season 2, because that's out. We know we have all the reference we could possibly need. When we got to season 3, Mike Aiello had gone out to LA to Netflix's studios or their office, and I can't remember. I think he read the scripts, all 8 episodes, all 8 episodes, and kind of just took down. I mean, he read it, and then when he was done, he just came out and sort of just tried to write down everything he remembered about that. And I'd love to get a transcript of it, because actually it was freaking amazing. I mean, his memory and mind was able to capture everything about that house. So afterwards, we kind of broke it down based on his translation of the script as to what seemed to be the key moments. And we kind of plugged those in as holes throughout the maze. Like, all right, we'll develop this thing that he talked about here and here and here. We didn't get, I don't know, we never got a full script or anything like that. It was...
Look, everybody gets to watch it.
But that wasn't until we had developed. So we had no drawings. We did get some photographs. Assets leaked in. Not leaked. That's not the right word.
No, that's not the right word.
We're given to us very. But a couple photographs of what was on set. So we knew the cabin, and then we had was it October? I guess last. Yeah, we went out. We went up. That's what it was. We went in October of last year. We went up to, this was amazing. We went up to Atlanta in October, and were able to tour some of the sets that were still standing. And they allowed us to take pictures. It was crazy. So we were able to, we toured the cabin, all the residential areas, and the Death Star, which is what they called the big Russian underground laboratory. They called it the Death Star because there are a lot of elements that resemble the Death Star. And they were there filming the day we were there. I was like, oh my God. We were all completely geeking out. So we were able to take pictures. And from those pictures, we were able to develop. Now, if you'd been in this place with that giant, now the machine was mostly CGI. I mean, the big thing, the big control room and all that was in, that was all there. And the big gate was a big giant green screen. So just the scale, just trying to translate that into, it was more space than we could have accommodated to do it justice. We went to the mall, which is actually, I don't know if you all know this, it's probably common knowledge now, that the mall was actually a mall in Atlanta, a food court that they completely rehabbed and shot all those scenes in there. The monster was completely CGI, so that wasn't there when we were there. But we knew that was going to be our big thing, because we can't do 3 big things in a maze, because then that's what we'd have is three giant things. So that was kind of, we had to pick and choose, and since the Starcourt Mall attack on Starcourt is kind of the big epic finale. I know it cuts back and forth, but that was the big, and we thought we could do a monster. We said that not knowing whether we could do it or not. So that was part of the reason. We kind of hint at the Russian underground base, but it's, again, size restraints. We'd take up 2 sound stages if we could, but there are logistical reasons for that. That was a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
Netflix is awesome.
Yeah, they were. Oh my God, they are
cool.
so awesome to work with, and we're hoping we can maintain that relationship and use they have so much content that we're hoping to maybe find some things that we can work with them again. But their representatives are fantastic to work with, so we hope that relationship continues.
That's why we're keeping you away from that.
I know. I don't know where our
We're over here. That's going to be our last question for you tonight, so stay by.
I just had a question. Is there any chance in the future for a year-round haunt here at Orlando?
Shut your mouth.
Get that man out of here.
Again, we'll never say never. I know Hollywood has the Walking Dead thing. a lot of it comes down to just space.
Well, we do have. I also think this is just a psychological thing for me. I think when you take something away, it makes you want more. And I think if we didn't take it away, then you wouldn't come back to. I mean, maybe you would, but I think for you know what I mean. If you eat ice cream all day, you're not gonna want ice cream at night. You're gonna take it away from the bed and be like, I want some ice cream. All right.
Yeah, it's 29 years, but it's like different every time.
Well, I'm gonna say I think that's the thing we started way back when, that we sort of tied ourselves to, is that it is a different event every single year, and I think that's part of the reason everybody keeps coming back every year, is because like, well, I went last year, but it's completely different. If I don't go, I'm going to miss out on that. So I think that's what makes our event unique. It's getting bigger every year, and it's every time it's unique. Now there are obviously similarities. We might do a house like the Nightingale
Extinction Part 12.
Part 12. But like we're doing Nightingales again, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
So even it's like, I saw that already. It's like, no, you didn't. It's a completely different maze. So I think that's what makes our event unique and challenging for us, but rewarding just the same, is that every year is completely different. So to your point, I think if we did something that lasts all year, I think you'd get tired of it. But I don't know that everybody would want to keep coming back to that.
Cool.
Really the last
We appreciate you guys so much. We really do. Again, we are you. We are fans, and we love what we do. We do it for you. We do it for ourselves. We try to make you happy. We make ourselves happy, but it's very rewarding. But we're all family. You know what I mean? We are just as geeked out as you guys get about stuff and excited.
We do what we do because it's what we want to see as well. I mean, it's about what you all want to see, but again, we're like you. We want to see this thing. We just happen to be the people that have to we have to make it first before we can see it, and then allow you to see it. So it's, we do it because we love all of the genres, the materials. We love doing the originals because it challenges us to come up with new and exciting ideas.
But we love you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming out.